You would not believe what these Dollar Tree pizza trays become by the end of this video. If you love home decor that looks high-end but are very budget-friendly and cost almost nothing to make, today's video is going to inspire you because I'm taking simple Dollar Tree pizza trays and turning them into 5 brand new wall decor pieces that look surprisingly expensive, artistic, and designer-inspired. Each one has its own unique style, texture, and elevated finish. And the best part is, you would never guess these started at Dollar Tree. My name is Nora G, and welcome to my nook. If you enjoy budget-friendly DIYs that completely transform your space, stay with me because one of these designs may easily become your next favorite. Let's get into it. For this first wall decor, I'm starting with one of these large pizza trays from Dollar Tree. And honestly, I really love the size and finish of these trays for wall projects because they already have such a clean base to work with. You can also find these trays at Dollarama. And what I especially like is that they're lightweight enough to hang easily, but still sturdy enough to hold added materials beautifully. Since I'll be using the reverse side of the tray as the front for this design, the first thing I want to do is create a hanging support at the back. For that, I'm using some cotton cord from Dollar Tree, any other rope or cord would do, along with hot glue, Gorilla Glue, and a bit of duct tape to secure everything well. I'm simply creating a loop that will serve as the hanging tag. Now, of course, if you want a more professional finish, you can absolutely use proper wall hooks or hardware. I drew a diagonal section toward the top left side of the tray. And that is where I'll be applying this faux brown leather that I got from Amazon some time ago. I'll have that linked in the description box. I love working with faux leather because it instantly adds warmth and richness to any project, especially when paired with darker tones. I'm applying both hot glue and Gorilla Glue here because I want immediate hold but also long-term strength. Once that section is fully covered, I trim away the excess and fold the remaining edges neatly to the back of the tray, using hot glue so everything looks clean and finished. For the lower section, I wanted to introduce another shape to make the design feel more abstract and custom. So I sketched out this curved form on the reverse side of the faux leather, cut it out, and glued that piece down as well, allowing it to slightly overlap onto the tray for more visual interest. Again, I'm folding the excess to the reverse side so the front stays very polished. Now for the exposed part of the tray, I wanted contrast, texture, and depth. So I'm mixing matte black chalk paint with a little baking soda. You could also use black acrylic paint for this. This is one of my favorite tricks because baking soda gives paint a beautiful stone-like finish that instantly makes simple materials look expensive. I'm brushing that mixture across the remaining surface, making sure the texture feels intentional but still smooth enough to keep that high-end modern look. Once that dries, the transformation already starts to look so elevated, but I wanted one final detail to tie everything together. I'm using these gold thumbtacks from Dollar Tree as embellishment. You must have seen this in my previous video if you are a fervent follower of this channel. There is such a great affordable detail for projects like this. I used pinchers to remove the sharp backs, then glued each one carefully along the leather edge using Gorilla Glue. This little metallic detail adds such a designer touch because it mimics studded accents you often see on expensive wall decor and luxury furniture pieces. After placing everything, I let the piece cure overnight so it bonds really well. And that is the final result. A simple pizza tray turned into a bold statement wall decor piece that honestly looks far more expensive than what it cost to make. I started mine against a neutral wall with greenery nearby because the softness of the olive tones really complements the warmth of the faux leather and the richness of the black finish. And because the tones are neutral, this piece blends so easily into different decor styles. Whether your home leans modern, minimal, earthy, luxury inspired, or even slightly rustic. What I also appreciate about projects like this is that they prove you truly do not need expensive decor to make your space feel elevated. Sometimes all it takes is a simple, affordable material, a little creativity, and thoughtful finishing details. Now on to our next project. For this second wall decor, I'm still using the same large pizza tray from Dollar Tree. But this time, I wanted to create something that feels much more artistic, expressive, and almost like an oversized abstract floral art you will find in a high-end decor store. For this design, I decided to use the front side of the tray, and I started by painting the entire surface with white chalk paint. Acrylic paint works perfectly well too, but I really like chalk paint because it gives a softer matte finish that already starts to make the tray feel more elevated. Before the paint fully settles, I'm using a foam sponge to lightly dab over the surface just to introduce a little texture. Once that dried completely, I moved on to the colors that would define this piece, and I chose 3 shades that work beautifully together for an earthy but sophisticated palette. So I'll be using burnt umber, burnt sienna, and grotto green, which is very close to a light teal. Instead of using a regular paintbrush, I'm creating a stamping tool using a simple plastic bag. I grabbed the plastic bag, tied a knot at the bottom, turned it inside out, and blew a little air into it so it forms almost like a balloon. The reverse side of that knotted part becomes my paint applicator, and this creates such an interesting organic print when stamped onto the tray. I love this method because it gives you a floral abstract effect without needing any drawing skill at all. If you're someone who feels you're not artistic, this trick does the work for you, while still looking very intentional and designer inspired. I'm starting first with burnt umber, dabbing the plastic lightly into the paint and then stamping onto the tray. I'm making sure not to stamp twice in exactly the same area because that keeps each print looking natural and fresh. Next, I move into burnt sienna, layering that in different areas so the colors begin interacting with one another. And finally, I'm bringing in the grotto green, which adds such a beautiful contrast and really wakes up the entire piece. What I like here is allowing some of the stamps to appear bolder while keeping others softer and lighter, because that variation gives movement and makes the overall design feel more organic. At this stage, honestly, the tray already looks beautiful exactly as it is, alright? But it already has that abstract modern art feeling, and someone could easily stop here and still have a stunning piece. But you already know me. I wanted to take it a little further. My favorite part of this project is adding gold leaf because that one extra detail instantly changes everything and gives the design that expensive custom art look. Using a very fine brush and some Mod Podge, I carefully highlighted selected white areas starting from the center of the floral prints. I didn't want every single flower to have gold because restraint actually helps luxury look more believable. So I chose only certain areas to accent. Then I placed the gold leaf over those sections and gently pressed it down. I let that cure overnight because patience here really helps the finish come out cleaner. The next day, using a dry brush, I carefully brushed away the excess gold leaf, and this is always such a satisfying step because suddenly all those little details begin to reveal themselves beautifully. You get this softer shimmer that catches light in such an elegant way without overpowering the design. To protect everything, I sealed the entire piece with Mod Podge so the surface stays durable and the finish remains intact. And that is it, guys, the final result. What started as a simple Dollar Tree pizza tray now looks like oversized statement wall art with a hand-painted gallery feel. What I especially love about this design is how versatile it is. I start mine with greenery nearby because the olive tones naturally complement the burnt tones and the teal so beautifully, while the gold leaf catches light and adds warmth. This kind of piece works especially well if your decor style leans earthy, modern, artistic, or even slightly eclectic because it feels bold but still refined. Trust me, this video is not doing this any justice. For DIY number 3, we're working still with the same Dollar Tree pizza tray. Clearly the star of our wall decor show today. And honestly, these trays keep proving just how versatile they are. Skip the canvas, guys, for now. Alright, so for this design, I'm again using the front side of the tray. This one is going to have a much more modern geometric feel. I'm using painter's tape to section off the tray, starting with one strip running vertically down the left side from top to bottom. Then I added another strip at the top right, running horizontally from that first vertical line across towards the right side. Finally, I placed a smaller section of tape at the lower left area. These taped sections recreate those clean divisions that make the final piece look very intentional and architectural. Once everything is taped down well, I begin painting the top right section and the lower left section using white acrylic paint. I gave both areas 2 coats because I wanted a clean, bright base that will fully cover the tray surface and allow the texture on top to show properly. After the white paint dried completely, I used stone textured spray paint over those white sections. And this immediately changes the feel of the project because now those areas start looking almost like textured stone or concrete. That contrast is what makes this piece feel expansive. Combining smooth finishes with textured surfaces always gives a more layered designer effect. Once that dried, I moved to the remaining exposed sections and painted those using burnt umber chalk paint. I absolutely love this tone because it has such richness and warmth without being harsh. I gave those areas 2 coats as well, but for the final coat, I used a sponge instead of the brush so I could softly build texture into the surface. That little bit of variation helps prevent the brown from looking flat, and it starts giving that subtle depth you always or often see in expensive hand-finished decor. To add even more dimension, I then took some castle chalk paint, which is like a lighter shade of umber almost, close to nude if you ask me, and lightly worked into the center portions of the burnt umber areas. I'm not covering everything, just softly blending in the center so the darker tone remains visible around the edges, giving it an ombre look. This creates a gentle highlight effect and makes the darker sections feel almost slightly 3-dimensional rather than just one solid color. At this stage, the piece already feels very modern and elevated, but the transformation really happens once the tape comes off. And this is always one of my favorite moments because suddenly all those clean lines reveal themselves. Now we have those natural unpainted divisions running through the tray, and instead of leaving them plain, I wanted to turn them into the statement detail of the entire design. Using a fine brush and Mod Podge, I carefully applied adhesive along those exposed lines, then layered gold leaf over them. If you're working with gold leaf, one thing that helps a lot is making sure your hands are completely dry because gold leaf is extremely delicate and reacts quickly to moisture. I have linked the gold leaf I used in the description box, but Dollar Tree also carries gold leaf flakes, which I have used on this channel previously. The Dollar Tree gold leaf flakes also works beautifully too if that's what you have available. Once the gold leaf is placed, I let everything sit and cure properly before brushing away the excess. And instantly, those lines become the focal point. That gold against the textured beige and rich brown creates such a beautiful modern luxury look. Okay guys, before we carry on, the word of the day today for this video is reinvention, because there is something so satisfying about taking an ordinary item and giving it an entirely new identity through creativity and thoughtful detail. So please do comment reinvention in the comment section down below. After everything was fully dry, I sealed the piece lightly so the finish stays protected and the gold remains intact. And this is the final result, a very simple pizza tray transformed into wall decor that honestly looks like something you will find in a home decor store. What I love about this design is how clean and versatile it is, as well as the beautiful contrast and how they work well together. The rough against the smooth, the dark against the light, the matte against the metallic, all of that. I love it. That combination is what gives simple materials a much more elevated feel. It also looks stunning in an entryway because the geometric lines immediately creates visual impact without needing too much around it. For DIY number 4, we are creating a piece that I honestly see as an artistic sibling to DIY number 2. They definitely belong in the same family, but this one has its own personality and presence. One thing about me, I absolutely love wall decor that feels artistic, textured, layered, and a little unexpected, especially when it starts from something as simple as a Dollar Tree pizza tray. For this project, I decided to use the reverse side of the pizza tray because I wanted that slightly elevated outer edge to frame the design more intentionally. I think for abstract wall decor like this, that subtle raised border gives it a more finished and expensive look. Next, using a regular pen, I sketched out lines, creating 7 abstract spaces running from left to right across the tray. Nothing here needs to be straight or perfect at all. In fact, the more organic and fluid the lines are, the better the final result looks because it gives movement to the piece and makes it feel more artistic rather than just structured. Once I was happy with the placement, I used hot glue to trace directly over those lines. And this is one of those little Dollar Tree DIY tricks that instantly changes everything because once painted, those raised lines create dimension that looks almost like custom sculpted detailing. After the glue dried, it was time to start painting. For the colors, I stayed within the same palette from DIY number 2 because I wanted cohesion across the full video, but I also added one extra tone for depth. I started with castle chalk paint on the top and bottom sections, then used burnt umber for the next sections, burnt sienna after that, and finally grotto green right across the middle as you would see. I really love this color story because it feels rich, earthy, elevated, and still very current. These are the kinds of tones you often see in expensive gallery-style wall decor right now. Once the first coat dried, I went back in with a foam sponge to apply texture. And this step makes such a difference because it softens the paint, adds movement, and removes that flat look so the piece immediately starts feeling more layered. At this stage, honestly, it already looked beautiful enough to stop here. But guys, you already know me. We always have to take it one step further. To tie this project back to DIY number 2, I used that same plastic back balloon technique again. And if you watched project 2, then you already know how much I love how effortless this trick is. I added a little white chalk paint onto a plate, grabbed a fresh plastic bag, tied it into a knot, flipped it over, added some air inside, and used that rounded end as my stamp. Then I lightly stamped floral shapes across different color sections, making sure not to overcrowd the design. What I love about this method is that it creates something that looks hand-painted and artistic without needing any actual drawing skills. Some stamps were lighter, some heavier, and that variation is exactly what gives it character. Once that dried completely, it was time for my favorite finishing detail, gold leaf. Using Mod Podge and a fine brush, I applied adhesive directly over all the raised glue lines because I really wanted those lines to catch the light and define each section beautifully. Then on only 3 of the stamped flowers, I added gold leaf just at the center so it wouldn't overpower the full piece, while at the same time tying in with DIY number 2. And this is really where the project starts looking expensive. After letting that cure properly, I used the dry brush to remove all excess gold leaf, then sealed everything with Mod Podge so the finish stays protected. And this is our final look. Honestly, I love how artistic this turned out, guys. For styling, I placed this piece where it could really stand on its own because it has enough movement and color to become a focal point instantly. This will look beautiful in a hallway, above a console table, in a dining space, in a home office, bedroom corner, or even layered with neutral decor where you want one statement piece to bring warmth. And if you pair it with DIY number 2, you instantly get that curated designer wall collection look that feels intentional and very high-end. Well guys, let's move on to our last and final DIY. For our fifth and final project, I wanted to end this video with something that looks incredibly high-end, heavily textured and almost sculptural. And honestly, this one may be one of the most satisfying transformations in the entire video because the materials are so simple, but the finished look feels like something you will spot in an upscale home decor store or even in a luxury hotel lobby. For the design itself, I'll be using these curtain ropes from Dollar Tree, the same cords we have been using throughout this video to create the hanging support on the back of the other wall pieces. But this time, the cord becomes the actual design element. Using hot glue, I started right from the center of the tray and began building an abstract pattern by curling and bending the rope as I glued it down little by little. There is really no exact formula here, guys, and that is what makes this project so fun. You don't need perfection, alright? You don't even need symmetry. The goal is simply to create movement, letting the rope twist naturally into an organic abstract design that slowly expands outward. As I kept building, I allowed each section to flow into the next so the design felt continuous and intentional. The key here is not overthinking it, guys. Sometimes the best abstract pieces happen when you stop trying to control every detail and simply let the design evolve as you go. As the pattern grew wider, I continued filling the tray until I reached the outer edge. At this stage, it already had beautiful texture, but because hot glue alone can sometimes loosen over time, especially on curved surfaces, I went over the entire design generously with Mod Podge. And this step is important because it helps lock everything down for a stronger long-term hold while also sealing the rope itself. Once that cured properly, I moved on to creating the stone-like base finish. I mixed white paint with baking soda to create a thick textured paint, then brushed it over the entire piece, making sure to work it into every little crack and every crevice between the rope lines. Take your time here, guys. No rush. This helps soften the rope texture visually and starts giving it that sculpted look. After everything dried fully, I finished the entire piece with gold spray paint, and immediately everything changed. The metallic finish caught every raised detail beautifully, and suddenly the entire tray looked like carved metal wall art. What I especially love is how the gold settles differently across the texture. So some areas appear brighter while others have depth and shadow, which gives the whole piece that expensive layered finish. And if your decor style is modern, earthy, organic, or luxury inspired, this kind of piece blends in effortlessly. And that's it, honestly. One of my favorite things about DIY, seeing ordinary materials become something unexpectedly beautiful. Well guys, and that's it for today's 5 new Dollar Tree pizza tray wall decor DIYs that look ridiculously expensive. Let me know in the comments which design was your favorite. I honestly want to know if you would recreate one, pair two together, or style all 5 differently. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and also hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications because more high-end Dollar Tree DIY home decor ideas are coming your way very soon. Until my next video, you have a beautiful day.